Welcome to Slouching Towards Masculinity. What does it mean to be a man in today's society? How are we defined and how do we define ourselves? What lessons have we learned and how do we affect others? Join me, Philip Bedwell, and guests as we discuss lifestyles and life lessons as we slouch towards masculinity together. Welcome to the latest episode of Slouching Towards Masculinity. Hope you're doing well. If you're enjoying these podcasts, please leave comments, please like them, please follow them, and please subscribe. It really helps me out across all networks. Wherever you're listening to it, give me a like, give me a follow, give me a review. It really does help me out. Really appreciated. And I wanted to record this today quite quickly after having the chat because it really stuck with me, actually. Today, it's referee Paz, or Marc as I know him as well. And I really have known Marc for quite a long time. And I don't want to go into the usual spiel. I've known him, and today we're going to talk about this. One of the things I've really loved about doing these podcasts is I'm not having the usual conversations. And with Marc, we always talk a lot, but we're excited to see each other backstage at wrestling. We have the usual mess abouts. And one of the saddest things in wrestling, you can know someone for years, but you don't really know them, but you know you like them. And today I got the opportunity to chat with Marc for near on an hour. And I found out so much about him. And I'm actually, at the moment, a little bit emotional and actually quite genuinely touched because the guy has got such a good understanding of life and himself, and I always knew he was like a really good bloke, but I just didn't realize how switched on he was. I don't mean that as a disrespect to him. I didn't realize how, like, if I had the opportunity to have this conversation with him, how deep he went in things, and and with thoughts and ideas. And I'm really privileged, and I don't use that word lightly, that he gave me the time, his busy time, to come and talk to me today. We have a few sort of groundbreaking bits we talk about. And if you're not into wrestling, please don't let this stop you listening. As always, this is about masculinity. It is about human values. It's about being curious about life and motivations and life values and how you're brought up and how they shape you and how you continue to evolve and evaluate your life. So yeah, if some of these go into wrestling, don't ever let that put you off. I always say that the more things you can expose yourself to, the more different walks of life, the more different types of entertainment and media you can expose yourself to, the more ultimately you find out about yourself. I always look at it like if you go to another country, you might not be able to speak the language so well. You certainly won't know the layout. But over time, you start discovering how to communicate, and you start discovering things in this new country and this new culture that you like, and ultimately that informs you that this is part of you now. So yeah, I hope you like this conversation today. I loved it, and once again, I really appreciate Marc taking the time out to have the conversation with me today. And yeah, have a good one and enjoy. Actually, just as I finished recording the introduction, I forgot to mention there are a few swears in the first part of the conversation, but nothing to be worried about. Just be aware that if you are offended by bad language, there's a couple early on. I hope that's okay. And once again, enjoy. Well, hello there, Marc, and welcome to Slouching Towards Masculinity. How are you today?
Week 412 of lockdown, Phil. So I'm not sure how I feel or what the day is or anything anymore. But I think I'm alive, which is a start. So we'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do a podcast if indeed the other person is dead. But you know, there's a lot of air to fill otherwise. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it is definitely a weird time. Is it? And it's just sort of getting that feeling of when are things going to go back to normal and stuff, or as normal as they can ever do again?
I know, right? Tell me about it. I'm fed up of being in my own house. It's like when there was no lockdown, I was more than happy to sit on my sofa and not move. Now that I'm not allowed to be on my sofa, I kind of want to just go out and walk around. And that's the worst bit.
Yeah, and I think that's it as well. It's I was speaking the other day about this, and I likened it to a diet. Now, from a personal training perspective, when you say to someone, not that I do this anymore, but you used to go, okay, well, you really just need to eat these foods, and people go, oh, don't trap me in, don't trap me in. But if you actually look at what people generally eat, they stick to the same favourite meals all the time. But if you actually say to someone, right, that's all your choice now, and that's all you have, then people start to freak out. It's a natural thing to want to push back against bars and stuff.
It
is like it is a very sort of weird time, and hopefully things are going to get back to normal soon anyway.
Fingers crossed.
Right, but in terms of masculinity, right, so the best way I can always start this is when you were growing up, what sort of masculine influences did stuck with you, or what sort of archetypes or things did you base yourself on? I mean, this can just be like entertainment that you were exposed to, or like your schooling, or friendships or stuff like that. How did that sort of affect you, and what sort of influences did you have?
Well, like growing up at home, I was always like, I was your typical brought up, like, you know, not a gentleman as such, but, you know, you're brought up with your please and your thank yous and all that. I was brought up in a house where my dad worked, my mum stayed at home for the first sort of few years of my life, and then obviously my mum got a part-time job and that, but my dad still did stuff around the house. Like, it wasn't a case of like my dad comes home, dinner's on the table, like 2.4 children stuff. It was like my dad would go to work, you know, come home and help with housework and do the housework at the weekends. Like in my parents' house still, like Saturdays is housework day for my dad. He'll do all the sort of the hoovering and stuff like that. My mum does the washing, but my dad seems to do the rest of it. So I've kind of grown up with not the general sort of masculinity that you'd say was happening in the sort of late 80s, early 90s at home. But I mean, school was typical masculinity too, very much. All the boys played football and all the girls, you know, did their thing, and girls are icky and you don't touch them until you reach puberty.
So did you join in with football? Were you parts of many teams and stuff at all?
I see, when I was younger, I played football, played for the school, but then it was more of a casual thing. And then when I sort of got to secondary school and that, I did my GCSEs and I got really shit GCSEs and couldn't really do what I wanted to do. But I didn't want to go out into the big wide world at 16. I wanted to carry on my education.
Right.
And the only thing that was really opening up to me with my GCSEs was to do a FA football coaching course.
Oh.
So I'm actually a level 2 qualified football coach. I can coach in the Premier League and stuff. I could go get a job with a football club and be on the coaching staff, like if I wanted to.
This is what I love about this, because I just find things out about people and I'm like,
yeah, I've got like refereeing qualification. I've got a safeguarding children in sport qualification, like all because I didn't want to like leave school and get a full-time job at 16.
I've got to ask you this on a completely sort of just one off the cuff thing. Do you feel that you might be the actual and one of the few actual wrestling referees with an actual referee qualification?
I think no, I'm not. I lied. There's another one in like High Wycombe that's a genuine referee. It was not High Wycombe, in Brighton. It was his actual job was to be a football referee on a Saturday. That's what paid his bills.
That's excellent.
So yeah, like I'm one of like a handful, shall we say? I'm not the one that it's not the gimmick isn't the job.
Yeah. So art mirroring life and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Well. No, that's so. Why for you did you feel like you wanted to continue your education? Why was that so important for you, and not like having to go and prove yourself with work? What was interesting you about education and that at that time?
Again, it was the way I was brought up. It was very much my parents were like, get a decent education, like not expecting me to have to go to university and become a doctor, but they were like, at least get an education behind you so that you can do well in life. And you know what it's like when you're sort of 14, 15, everyone's like, what do you want to do when you're 30? I don't even want to know what I want to do when I'm 16, 17, you know? So you sort of go, I don't know. And then I look at the GCSE. I've got GCSEs in like history, RE, fucking English, maths and science and drama. And it's like, what kind of fucking job are you going to get with that mix of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and it was very much like, I don't know what I want to do. And like, I didn't take my GCSEs massively seriously. I took them seriously, but not to the point that I should have done. If I could go back into my own head when I was 15, I'd definitely take my exams more seriously. But it was very much a case of when I got the results and it's like, right, what should we do now? You go up to the teacher, go, right, what do I need? What GCSEs do I need for this? Oh, so I'm like 3 grades away and I've done the wrong subject, so I can't study that. Brilliant. And then you go to another one. Oh, didn't get the grades for that. Oh, I didn't study the right subjects for this. And like I say, it was like in the corner of the room was like an FA football coach. And I sort of went over and said, what do I need for this? And he went, nothing, don't even need a single GCSE. Wow, I'll do it. This sounds good. Because like I said, I've always had a passing interest in football. It was something I used to sit and watch with my dad and stuff. I used to watch Match of the Day on a Saturday and stuff. And I've always liked watching football and stuff. Just better coach than I am player. And it was very much a case of, well, I'm still being education. I'll be getting exercise. You know, I don't have to go into the wide world yet. Because at the time at 16, I didn't feel... I mean, I had a part-time job. I was working like 4 evenings a week and Saturdays from 16. But I just didn't...
Sorry.
I was working at like a motorway service station.
Yeah.
I was working one of them.
Oh, okay.
I was working in the shop. I was doing like late shifts. I was working like 6 I was going to school and like 6 on that, finishing at 3, coming home, eating, showering, going to work for 5, working till 11, like 4 nights a week, coming home, sleeping, then going and doing like my 6th form again the next day. And then obviously working full like 8 hours on a Saturday to, pay for like you do at 16. I had a little motorbike and underage drinking and God knows what. Do you know what I mean? like you do weekly pay, when you were getting 250, 300 quid.
Yeah,
sort of 15, 16 years ago, you were sort of the one sort of throwing the money about, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is all disposable income back then, pretty much as well,
yeah.
isn't it?
Because that was the other thing my mum said to me when I was 16. She was like, all the time you're in education, you're not going to pay rent. So I was like, well, fuck, okay. Like how far can I stretch this to being in education? How many hours can I work and how much money can I earn and spend and put away before I start having to pay out for things? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, completely. And it's that sort of weird, it sets up this weird juxtaposition in your head, really, because while you've got that, you've got this part-time job, but then education equals freedom. Yeah. But then at the same time, it's always bothered me with this, the way education is set up. They almost entrap you at an age where you're full of hormones. And, I think as a teenager, you shouldn't really have a set idea of what you want to do with your life. No. That scares me a little bit. I think throughout your life, you want to really adjust and try different things. So to say to someone who at that point, just completely off the scale, wanting to try a little bit of everything, to go, okay, this is your rest of your life right now. Yeah. Everything you do in these exams right now, and it's not even like, a lot of it isn't about critical thinking. It's just about how much can you remember. If you've got a terrible memory, then you're going to do really, really bad at these exams. And that is going to ruin your life. It's not teaching you how to rationalize or critically break things apart. It's just teaching you how to get something right or wrong, and that's it. And you're either going to do well or you're not. No,
exactly. I mean, like, it's when start again. Like where you say you don't know what you want to do. Between the ages of 16 and now, I've had a crazy amount of different jobs. I've gone from, like, I worked in a Burger King. I've worked in, like, retail. I've done warehouse work. At one point, I was working for the Ministry of Defence as a forklift driver. I've worked, like, handling hearing aids. Right now I work in tool hire. It's like you say, there's no, even at 32, I'm sort of only just found something that I want to do for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean?
Which is what, mate? I would really
I want to stay where I am now. I work for an independent family-run tool and plant hire business.
Right.
And it literally it's one of those jobs where I just feel like a member of the family. You just like, I'm respected. My opinion matters. I literally walked into the job, and within a month, as like the bottom rung of the ladder, I managed to get 3 things changed where I work to help better my job and better the company, because I was listened to. Whereas when you go to work for a big corporation, you go, okay, we'll sort that, and it never gets done. And it's just, I'm given a lot of respect, so I want to give the respect back and stay there. And the amount of qualifications they've given me through this tool hire company, again, is ridiculous. I mean, I've got telehandler licenses and scaffold tower licenses and licenses to drive cherry pickers and diggers and dumpers, and all just from working at this one place. So, I'd say even, I mean, not just as a man, but as a human as well. I mean, when you are giving so much of your life to something that, is paying your bills and stuff as well, but if you've got to spend a certain amount of time there, you do want to feel that your opinion matters and your opinions are valued. Like there's a big thing with employment where
are you actually unique to that job, and do you feel like you're irreplaceable, or do you feel like you can be a click of the fingers and you can be replaced in 2 seconds? That's never going to do a lot for your psyche if all you think is like, okay, tomorrow I could be gone and another number's in my place.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. I feel like where I am now, yes, I could be replaced, but it's going to take you a hell of a long time for that person to do what I'm doing. Like, it's going to be a detriment to the company for you to get rid of me in the long run.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like I say, it gives you that value of self, and it ties into your own confidence as a man and stuff as well. You feel, okay, my opinion's valued here, and then that means you value yourself more. The job sort of reflects you and your own opinion of yourself, you know?
Yeah,
whereas you see some people in certain jobs, well, it doesn't matter on the pay scale at all. I mean, where I used to work, I've seen like high-powered lawyers are absolutely beaten down, having 3 children and never seeing them because the job is everything. Oh, if you don't come in, you're never going to get selected, and that's the only way they can see and value themselves now, is just as an employee, which is really scary.
Yeah, no, I don't like the idea of being just a number.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think, you know, like I say, self-identity and self-importance gets a bad rap because everyone thinks that ties into ego and just you know, and it's not. It's like you should care about yourself. This thing that gets knocked into your mind that you're like everyone else. I think to a degree, understand that you're part of a bigger picture, but on the same side, you are important. You should be.
Definitely.
There will never be another one like you.
Exactly.
Right. So reffing and stuff as well. I was going to ask, I'm going to tie this in, obviously not just reffing with the football, but reffing into wrestling as well.
Yeah.
Albeit an art form, and it's still real. It's predetermined, but it's still real. Kayfabe shocker there. But did you ever consider that you wanted to be a wrestler, or is it just like with the physical, you're involved in it in the football side of things, and you're involved in it, you're in a massively important part of the show and of each and every match. But did you ever want to go, I mean, you have done a bit of wrestling, but did you ever really want to go the full way, or was it more, what attracted you to the refereeing side of it?
It was literally, I started training to wrestle. I learned how to train. I mean, I can hang with guys when it comes to technical wrestling and chain wrestling and all sorts. I can still do it all. And I was training to wrestle, and it got to a point where the company I was training with, the referee was going to university, but he didn't tell anyone he was going to uni. So it was like there was 3 weeks till a show, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm going." It's like, well, shit, what are we going to do? I was the trainee that was closest to being match ready. So it was very much a case of the trainer saying, "Well, you're match ready nearly, why don't you referee, because you know the rules, everyone knows the basic rules to refereeing. Go in, see how a match works with, in the ring, watch a match from the best seat in the house, learn how to do it. You'll be doing this for 6 months maximum, and then you can go in and wrestle again." I was like, okay. So I was still training while doing this, and 6 months turned into a year. And it was like, I looked at it and went, I'm actually a far better referee than I am a wrestler. Plus, with my body shape, I'm not your conventional at the time, because this was 2007. So this was still the sort of the era of the big guy. So I literally went, there's no way I'm going to put on enough size and mass, even if I was in the gym 7 days a week, to look, because I'm very much an old school fan. You've got to look like a wrestler as well as act like a wrestler to me. Yeah. And it was very much, I looked at it and went, I'm going to be a detriment to the wrestling business, because I've got huge respect for the wrestling business. I just thought to myself, I'm going to be a detriment as a wrestler because I don't look like one. And I don't want to shatter some kid's illusion of what a wrestler should be when they watch me wrestle. So then that 1 year turned into 13 now. Yeah. So.
It's in, right. So, and I was going to say as well, so for me, like, not having that physical presence, but that is something you obviously valued when you watched wrestling. Has that ever bothered you that you've not had that physically imposing presence, or is that something that, you can make amends with it?
Yeah, no, like, I'm just happy to be involved in a business that I've loved since I was sort of 5 years old. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got a role in an industry that I loved watching when I was growing up, and I've got a role in an industry where there are people that look up to me to what I do and message me about how they can improve, and I'm able to pass back in something to this industry as well. Like, just because I'm not the guy that everyone wants the pictures and the posters for, what I do on a wrestling show is still a hell of a job. If I want to make your match look bad, I can make your match look. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I just couldn't be bothered to ref, it's going to be a detriment to your match. You know, so what I do is still an important role. It's just not the one that everyone wants. I mean, a lot of the refs, there's a few refs that are like, oh, I want to be the center of attention. I'm like, no, people haven't paid their money to see me. Like, there is no way I've put asses in seats. So I'm just going to show my respect to the guys that have put the asses in seats and are the reason I'm getting paid by doing the best job I can to get them more money.
I think the thing I have to mention as well, because for people that don't follow wrestling, and you know, some of the I don't always want it to become wrestling heavy, but there is a really important point I do want to make about this, that I think for a casual outsider, they don't realize how important a referee is in a match. A great referee for me is invisible until they need not to be. And they need to, and I always love it when a referee stays very much in character. It's the law and order factor. But when something crazy happens in a match, they react for that 1 second, and that really draws the crowd in even more.
Yeah.
But there was a big thing a few years ago where the referees were almost worthless. Like, every match was sort of, you couldn't get disqualified. There was almost no reason for a referee being there. And that really bothered me, because having that law and order inside a ring is what brings the crowd in. And it also gives so much more reaction and emotion to a match that this is why you sort of need a judgment there, because otherwise it would just be a free for all. There's no order to any of it. And everything starts with the referee. He or she is the structure which the whole match should be based around.
Yeah, it's a detriment to, like you say, it's a detriment. Think of it on a whole show. If you've got one referee on a whole show, and in the first match, one wrestler decides to completely mug off the referee and belittle him and berate him, as a casual fan, you're not going to believe that referee is going to be able to take charge of anyone else for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Why is someone in the main event, the big bad bully, going to listen to this little referee if the skinny kid in the first match didn't?
Yeah, and the thing is, for me as well, you are the conduit into which the fans can come into the match, because a lot of them can't understand what it is to be a wrestler, but they referees exist in lots of other sports as well, so they usually have a greater understanding of that, and they think, oh, I could give out the rules and stuff as well. So the way you react in that match and the way you are respected then gives the crowd an idea of how they should behave and how they are respected and stuff as well. It just gives them a much better idea of what a match should be and how a wrestling match is structured and stuff as well, and how they should react.
I'm Joe Everyman.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Literally, I am Joe Everyman. Literally, you say everyone can put a striped shirt on and tell somebody don't do that, whereas not everyone can be a big muscly guy in a pair of pants that's throwing other people around, you know.
Exactly, but you're. I mean, I will say this as well. It's my podcast. I can say this, that you are easily my favourite referee I've ever worked with, in terms of everything you've done for me, knowing when you can be funny, and also knowing when and keeping things lighthearted, but when it's a serious match, knowing how to bring it all together. Your performance is beyond reproach, mate, as far as I'm concerned.
Appreciate that, mate. Thank you so much.
So there you go. I'll make sure I edit that bit out.
Yeah. That bit needs to cut that bit.
No chance. No chance at all. So going into a little bit more with I didn't say too much wrestling, but this sort of goes back into masculinity a bit as well now. Obviously I've worked around wrestlers for now it's 27 years, but seeing positive and negative performative sides of masculinity, yours also witness to backstage perform positive and negative real masculinities. And one of the big things I always notice is there almost seems to be this blockage with a lot of wrestlers. Well, not a lot of wrestlers, it's not a generalization, but I've seen it with quite a few wrestlers where it becomes very toxic, where you are in a entertainment environment, but they have to go out of their way to prove that they're still really tough guys.
Oh, yeah. Get that a lot.
Yeah. So and also as well, unfortunately, they want to try and they have a massive ego, and they're trying to bully anything they can, be it referees, crowd, other wrestlers if they can. There's a hierarchical pecking order. Doesn't exist in all locker rooms. EWW very much it doesn't, but in a lot of places it does. Now, no names. I don't need to throw anyone under the bus or anything like that at all. But could you give me any examples? I'd say, firstly, of negative masculinity and negative sort of archetypes you've seen and stuff as well. You can include me.
No. There's I've been in a couple of locker rooms where wrestlers have got their shot, shall we say, at the big time, and now because they've had their 5 minutes of fame, they're instantly now the be all and end all, and they know everything, and it's very much a case of, you know, ego. It's more ego than anything, but it's very much a lot of this negative stuff. It very much goes back to schoolyard stuff. It's very much a case of establishing dominance. Yeah. Like you get like it's always the big guy needs to like haze the new wrestlers or haze people in the locker room that they don't know, or bully the ring crew. That's a common one I'm always seeing, or always used to see, because it's not so bad anymore. A lot of wrestlers bully the ring crew, the runners, the people that are still the trainees that are still there learning the business. If that makes sense, you know, like they're running back. If you want a bottle of water, this poor kid's going to go get it for you because, you know, they're a young boy, they're a trainee that's their job. They don't need to be disrespected because they're not an actual wrestler in the locker room, you know? Mm-hmm. You know, but like I say, the last 4 or 5 years, it's very, very uncommon to find that now. I mean, there was a locker room I was working in that was very much full of a lot of guys that have got their opportunity, and egos have taken over. Yeah, you know, because, you know, they've got their clique of top guys for the top company. And, you know, if you're not one of them, then, you know, you're only here because, you know, we need that role filled. It's, you know.
Yeah, no, and it is a shame as well. Like you say, there's a positive and a negative side to ego. The positive side is that you're a star, so when you're out there and you perform and you can turn it on, but understand once you get backstage, you really do need to turn that off. And people desperately try and grasp for this, and you know, they feel that. And unfortunately, a lot of what it was. I want to ask you why you think it's changed in the last few years. But for me, it used to be very self-propagating that you would have. When I was coming up through it, I got absolutely beaten up and all sorts. Not as terrible as some before me, but I still got beaten up, got hazed quite a bit. But then I saw, luckily, I managed to put a foot on most of it. But there are some wrestlers where you saw, well, I got it done to me the whole time I was coming up through it. Yeah. So now it's my turn. Or they don't know any better. They just think that's how you have to be in this environment. Yeah. And why do you think it got changed? Why do you think
I think the internet is the reason it's changed. I think social media and the lot of the fact that you can go to Twitter and say so and so bullies me, and then you'll get 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people will then jump on that particular person, and they've now got this negative image, and then they're not going to get booked anywhere. They're not going to sell any merch. They're not going to, you know. I think the rise in social media within wrestling and sport in general, to be fair, because it's in any sport. If you know this happened, you know, I just think the fact that fans now have a bigger say, should we say? They've always had a big say with their wallets and their feet and stuff, but now they've got a say with their mouths and their fingers. I think now it's a massive contribution in the disappearance of the negative connotations in wrestling. Yeah.
I mean, I could, in terms of positive things, I mean, have you seen that sort of come up at the same time? It's dropped down, or have you always seen
primest example is like Will Ospreay. His diet was given to him by Yeston Reese, another wrestler who's a dietitian and a physiotherapist. So Yeston was planning his diet. You know, you can message Yeston and say, I need a diet because I want to do this. I want to cut this, like this much and that, and he will do it for you. Same as PTs like you or John or anyone, you know, you're willing to help the guys. Even at shows, I've seen like some guys that are PTs. I've seen guys warming up and they've just gone over and said, oh, this is a better warm up for this particular thing that you want to do, or, you know, and you would never have got that 10, 15 years ago. They'd have just gone, let him go out and injure himself, then I can have his spot.
Unfortunately so. I mean, I think probably the biggest change I've noticed is the amount of communication backstage as well now. It used to be, honestly, when I first started up, a lot of the locker rooms used to be like morgues. Like nobody would say a word backstage. If you, heaven forbid, you showed any emotion of laughter or anything backstage, it was really sort of frowned upon. So you had these sort of like massive male egos at the top, just putting a crush on everything. And I think because inside themselves, they were so deeply unhappy because their like own personas were all so out of whack. They were trying to make everyone else out of whack as well, sort of like, you know, sort of indulging in their sort of sadness and stuff as well, and their depression. It used to, it was weird. I never got that. It was almost like a curtain behind a curtain for me, that when I finally got backstage, you saw all these larger than life personalities, and then as soon as you got back through the curtain, that all dropped and they were all completely bitter and really sad and yes, really sort of like negative stuff going on. But yeah, okay, so yeah, that's one for me. So I do actually, you may not have thought I'm going to do this, but your Warhammer hobbies,
Yes.
right? Do you ever do any? Are you actually like the? I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong terminology. I'm coming from a
No, that's fine.
90s Dungeons and Dragons back
That's
sort
fine.
of reference here. But are you ever the games master in that as well? I was seeing, are you sort of like still being the referee across?
Oh no, I'm fairly new to that. I've only taken it up in the last sort of 18 months. That's my hobby to escape. That makes, because obviously I work 9 to 5. I've got a family at home, and then I'm a different character when I'm wrestling. I don't have any time to just sit and de-stress from the world, because I'm always switched on, and the Warhammer is literally my way of just switching off and doing what I need to, and that I'm still learning how to play that. Essentially, I literally turn up to a local club and somebody will baby me through how to play it. So that's
And do you find, like, with the painting and stuff, like the painting of the models that you do, which I think are absolutely incredible, by the way. I wouldn't be able to do anything like that. I can barely paint a wall. But is that like a creative outlet? What do you feel like when you're doing that sort of stuff, when you're painting? Do you do anything else aside from the painting of the models, or is it purely just that?
I paint and play, but like it's mainly the good thing about the Warhammer is it's at such an open universe that there's so much canon and story and stuff that you could paint something, a particular model a different way and say this is a cousin chapter or like a different regiment, and people go, all right, fine. So it's just a creative outlet. And I'm lucky enough, like, one of my closest friends is a tattooist, and he's massively into Warhammer, and he's the one that showed me how to paint a certain way and get the best out of like painting, and how to make things look rustier and bloodier and stuff like this. So it's like it's a creative outlet. I play a particular army that's very much full of plagues and pestilence and pus and goo and all sorts. So it's just easy to make things look rusty and nasty. So
that's it. I mean, the thing about that, would you see, like, I can sort of almost see a through line from, being in wrestling and then looking at Warhammer, which is still those quite big, strong, heroic type masculine archetypes, big muscles and saviors of the world and stuff like that. I mean, do you feel like that's why it's had a really sort of big link to you and stuff as well, that you can sort of see these, or is there something else there?
I've always been into the fancy stuff. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I've always been into sci-fi and stuff like that. So it was just one of those things. When I was younger, I didn't have the patience or anything to do it. And now that I've got older and I've got a bit more patient, and I'll sit there and I'll take, I got one model took me 5 months to paint, because it was literally, I'll do an hour here and I'm like, no, I'll leave it. I'm not ready to paint it. And then I'll do a little bit more. And, whereas when I was younger, I'd have just like painted it really quickly and rushed it, put it on a shelf for a week and then chucked it. But, you said about the masculine, it is 100% such a masculine universe, because there's actually no real female leads. It is all very much genetically enhanced men fighting against genetically enhanced male aliens and demons and God knows what. So it's a very masculine hobby, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, I like the aspects of it as well, because then you're the creative side of it and indulging in that as well. I always like to find where, people will sort of have, like, I do want to sort of go back to as well, but like you wear sort of many different hats throughout the day, but the common thread is always going to be you. But
definitely
how you like go from, I don't know, Marc the referee to Marc working behind, in the tool hire job, to then Marc playing at Warhammer. Yeah. How you link all these things together, because they're all these aspects of you. Yeah.
I genuinely don't know how I link them all together or what I would. It's just me. It's just what I mean. I'm one of those sort of people that just goes, I like that, I'm going to do it. You know, like, I'm very much like, I'm not in a box. If I like, I'm sat now talking to you in a black t-shirt and a pair of pink, white and black Zubaz trousers.
Oh, the Macho Man ones.
Yeah. And I'm literally, when we're done talking, I'm going to go to the shop and get the weekly shop for the family in these, because I don't care. But tomorrow I could be wearing a pair of jeans and like a polo shirt. Like, it's the same with what I'm into. Like, my music taste on my iPhone, like, 1 minute it could be Ailstorm that plays, and then the next song could be Billie Eilish leading into Motorhead. I've got some Bocelli on my iPhone and some Pavarotti. The
thing I like about that as well, they do actually sort of say, your friends sort of reflect you a little bit, and pretty much everyone I've interviewed so far, I've got that curious nature and also a very eclectic, albeit fashion sense or music.
Yeah.
But the most important thing that I can respect from you in hearing what you've said now is that you are unafraid. And if we sort of go back to your schooling, if like 16 they said, okay, Mark, what do you want to do? And it's like, okay, I want to be in Warhammer, I want to be a professional wrestling referee, and I want to be in a tool hire business. I was like, what? How do you there's no way at 16 you're going to do that. But you are unafraid, and as your life has changed, you've had the ability to find these things, connect with them, and pull them into yourself and go, yeah, I want this, I recognize myself in this, I want part of this.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice. It's really interesting. So what would you say about in terms of as you've aged? I mean, you mentioned about your clothing choice and stuff now, and you just don't care. Do you think that when you were younger, you maybe cared about other opinions more?
Definitely. Yeah. When I was 16 and I had that part-time job, every week I'd go out and buy. I remember going to Oxford on the bus, and I went and bought 3 pairs of trainers from Shoe, and I spent £210 on 3 pairs of shoes. Oof. Whereas now I look at it and I refuse to spend more than 15-20 quid on a pair of trainers.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, image was everything. Like it'd be like a new pair of. I used to go out every Friday night. Friday was payday. You'd go out Friday and Saturday night. Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, because Thursday was always ladies' night. So you'd always go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it would always be a case of I'd have new clothes every week, and it was like I'd have a nice new shirt or t-shirt that would have cost 25-30 quid. I'd have had a pair of jeans, pair of trainers. My outfit would have cost, wouldn't have cost less than 80, 90, £100. Whereas now I'm the sort of guy that will go into a charity shop, see a t-shirt for £2.50, and I'll wear that. I'm like, I like that t-shirt, I want it. I don't care.
Would you say as well, I mean, some people never get out of this, but you tell me if you think this is wrong, but when you're younger, you don't really have a good sense of who you are. So you sort of not hide, but you armor yourself up with clothing choices, so it puts you to a particular tribe, or for instance shows that you're wealthy. It's like, look, yes, I can afford this stuff, so this just by looking at me, you're going to have a certain attitude of what I'm like, and it saves you trying to fill in the blanks. Because the biggest thing I ever see with teenagers and stuff, I'm showing my age now, or the young uns, they display a very pack mentality, and they all look the same.
Yes.
So it's like, this is who I am, because really they don't know who they are. They're just trying to display an image.
Yeah, they just want the acceptance of their peers. That's what they want. They want, like me for what I'm wearing, like me for what I'm listening to, like me for what I'm wearing, like me for what I'm drinking. Whereas I've reached that age now where I'm like, do you know what? Take me or leave me. Like I'm going to leave this world the same way I came in it. I'm not going to have any, I'm not going to take my friends with me. So if you want to join me on this wild ride, then great. Let's have a laugh about it. Let's enjoy each other's company. If not, I'm not going to lose any sleep over you finding me weird or not liking the way I dress or anything like that. It doesn't, you not being in my life is not going to affect me in the slightest.
I think age does give you that, like you're less worried about being in part of a tribe, and you're more able to stand on yourself and go, well, I'm going to add something to this group, but I'm not just going to become a faceless member of this group. This almost ties back into what you said about your work as well. You don't want to conform and be an endless number, but so people, because of lack of confidence or lack of a sense of self, or what they are in a masculine sense, that they can't actually have any value in themselves, so they just become a faceless member.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's exactly it. But I think again that's the problem with part of the world today. Because, like I say, at that sort of young age, you want to be accepted for, look at the way I'm dressing, look at the way, and it carries on into your work. I find, they've got that mentality of like me, accept me, and it's hard to explain. I just feel like you look at a lot of the youth that are working today, and it's very much. I can't explain it. I've lost it.
Yeah, I do agree. It's like, well, I don't know about you. For me, I grew up before the internet, which is,
I did as well.
Yeah, and I had a conversation a while ago with early 20 something, and I was mentioning about how people get ghosted and how they're just not. They're not. I'd say for me, I really showed outrage at that. I was like, if someone was talking to me and then out of nowhere just completely eradicated me out of their lives and didn't speak to me, especially in sort of a dating way, I would be really broken about it or really upset. But the way they explained it to me was, it's like a video game. They don't see it like that. There's so much less emotion attached to the dating scene because it's just so instant and so it's gone in a second, or someone else will be along in a second. So it sort of scares me a bit because I think, you know, when they're having these massive sort of grandstanding battles online and stuff, and like all these comments are getting thrown at each other, it's like, are you actually putting any emotional weight behind that at all? Is everything the same? Is everything just like, oh, there'll be something else along in 2 seconds, and it just doesn't mean anything?
Yeah, no, that scares me. If you'd have said to me, you know, when I was growing up that there'd be things like Tinder and that, I'd have laughed at you. Wouldn't have believed you in the slightest that you can literally, like, dating is. I'm going to sound old now. Like, dating isn't dating anymore. You don't go to a bar and you know, and do the work. You literally go on an app, judge someone by a picture, go, fancy a piece of that, swipe one way, and then like talk to them a little bit, and then that's it.
And you know what, mate? Sometimes that's what scares me as well. How we have literally reduced ourselves down to a single visual, 1 second of visual stimulus, and it's like either we like that or we don't. And it's like, woof, you know, it's
like David Icke said, that we're all prisoners in our own world to that little box in the corner of our room. And it's progressed from the box in the corner of our room to the little rectangular device in our hands. Yeah. You know, like, how many people in this world now can go without, you know, how many people could socialize in a pub without their phone? You know, could you throw a group of 18-year-olds in a pub, you know, and say socialize without your phone? You know, like, they couldn't do it.
Do you know what scares me as well? Have you seen when people? I've watched this now and again. I'm not saying I'm not immune to it as well. I actually have to. I've got a phone case that clicks shut over the screen of it now, so I won't just randomly look at it. But you will meet people, and if you actually realise they're doing it, or you're doing it yourself, they're looking at you, or they're looking at each other, and out of nowhere they just start to gaze down towards their phone. Yeah. And they're not even aware they're doing it. You know, or they'll start just picking up on mid conversation. They'll just start to drone.
Yeah. I mean, I am guilty of it every now and then.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate. A lot of the times at home, I tend to put my phone on airplane mode, turn the internet off, so that I'm not getting anything, and then I'm spending time with, you know, my loved ones and doing things I need to, because that way there is no distractions. Well, you know, not that I'm saying I need my phone, but like you say, you understand, being in the wrestling business, like, the phone when I'm on public transport or sat at a show, you know, it's your only form of entertainment, you know. So
and it depends who you've got, like, sort of going backstage and stuff as well. But did you know what, even that now, I've gone super technophobe, and I try and read a book as opposed to read stuff off my phone all the time, because some of it is mental McDonald's. I realized that there has gone in my life. I started recording all the time I was on the phone in a day, and then looking it back the next day, and just realizing that I'm spending like 50 minutes on YouTube, and I could not tell you a single thing I've watched. And that bothered me. It's like, I'm not going to. We all need to decompress in some way. We all need to have fun, but at the same time, where are you using your time, and are you using some of it wisely? Because that, especially now where everyone's got not a lot to do, you've got to be careful what sort of life you're setting up for yourself with the decisions you're making.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've got a screen time app on my phone for the same thing. It breaks down what I've spent, how much time per week on which apps and doing what. So I try and limit myself on certain things to, you know, to contribute
like I say, it's like junk food, you know. Now and again you want that donut or you want that takeaway, and that's absolutely fine, but you shouldn't do it every day, because that's where problems arise.
Definitely.
So why, I've got to go back to reffing for a second, and how it's affecting you as a man, or, you know, why retiring? What, if you want to answer this, why did you decide that you feel like you're going to retire now? I should mention that he's retiring from wrestling soon. So,
like, what I'm about to say, I've not said to anybody. Like,
are you okay? Right.
Like, the one contributing factor to me wanting to retire is I never fully got over WWE getting rid of me. Like, my underlying hatred towards that company, like, I'm still bitter. It's been 2 years. 2 years, and I'm still bitter at the fact that they let me go via email without telling me why. So and it was very much a case of it was affecting the way I looked at wrestling as a whole. Like, it got to the point where I hated going to shows. I was purposely trying to alienate people and piss people off, trying to self-sabotage myself. And then I took a step back and sort of assessed and thought, is this the be all and end all of my life? You know, I looked at it and thought, I'm probably not going to get back to where I was. what other things have I got in my life? I mean, I've got a 2-year-old daughter who I've spent more weekends out of the house since she's been born than in the house. So I can be at home doing things at weekends with her. I've got my Warhammer hobby, I run a radio control car racing club during the week. I can do that. I've got other outlets. Like, I've spent 14 years in wrestling. It's in my head. I know it's time for me to go.
Yeah.
That's just my time. I've hit that glass ceiling. I can't go any further. I'm going to go on my own terms while I'm still wanted.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Well, yeah, that means a lot. Thanks for sharing that, Mark. And
Sorry?
That means a lot, and thanks for sharing that.
That's all right.
I can completely understand as well, because you want to have you don't want to be the joke in the back. And you want to have that. You, like I say again, it comes back to self-confidence and sense of self, that you want to call your own shots. You want to have power over yourself and go, right, that's enough. I've seen every aspect in myself that I can see in this business, and now I want to discover new things.
Yes, and I know as well that because of the way the wrestling business is now, I know me leaving isn't going to be a detriment to the business. There are good wrestlers coming through that can do what I can do, and they're so much more younger that they can do it for longer. I'm not being a detriment by hogging my place and wanting that spotlight for what I do and keeping anyone else back.
Yeah. And you mentioned the thing that I'd be interested in as well. You mentioned about being a father to your 2-year-old. Would you say that it sort of comes in at the same time as the WWE doing that horrible thing to you as well? Would you say that was sort of like, it was sort of two big sort of changes of perspective in very short amount of time? Would you say like becoming a father has really changed your attitude about things and stuff?
Oh yeah, like I literally don't sweat the small things anymore. It's like there's no point getting angry about small things. I look at things now and think, how is this going to help my child more than anything, and me giving up wrestling means I'm going to spend more time with her and get to do things with her and take her places and build memories. Because it got to a point where like I'd grab my bag, or I'd go to put a pair of shoes on or put a jumper on, even if I was staying around the house, and my daughter would say to me, "Oh, Daddy, going to work," because she associates me putting shoes or a jumper on with me having to go to wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's, when your 2-year-old associates you putting a pair of shoes on, even if it's to go in the garden, or putting a jumper on because you're cold, associates that with you going to work, it's time to change something, It
makes you there's a sense there's something that's greater than you, even though we are all in our own heads and in our own consciousness. It's like, well, that other person there is completely enamored with you, wants you close by, and then you realize that your behavior is affecting someone who is an innocent. So
yes, definitely. And what I've done, no one can take away from me.
Yes,
it's there. I mean, in the space of 12 months, I was on a wrestling show in Alexandra Palace, Wembley Arena, and the Royal Albert Hall. Like, who in 12 months can say that they did that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've done what I need to do. I've proved a point. I was a referee in a company in Oxfordshire that drew 30 people in 2008. And then in 2018, literally 10 years to the day, I was in front of 5,000 people in the Royal Albert Hall as one of the first English referees in God knows how long.
It's that sense of legacy, sense that you've done all you can do, but also having that confidence in yourself going, right, I'm not defined by this. I may have left a legacy here, but I don't have to keep trying to base myself on that. I have enough confidence in myself. I can now go elsewhere, do other things, be a father, and, reinvent myself. The reinvention is key, I think. I'd see a lot of people, not just in wrestling, in all forms of entertainment, where they've had their best days and they've still sort of hung around a bit too long, and it's got a bit, they might be having a great time still, but for everyone else it's like a little bit tragic,
I mean, like, I'm not ruling out, this isn't like what it's like in wrestling. I'm not going, this is it, I'm done. Like in 2 years time, if somebody says I need if Stuart EWW said, look, need a ref, like any chance, I'll come and do it. If someone says to me, can you come down and talk to our refs about how to, positioning and the ins and outs of refereeing? I'll come down and do it. I'm not literally shutting the door on wrestling. It's just that chapter of my life is written.
Yeah.
You know, if I need to make some amendments and, you know, stuff like that and add, you know, a paragraph, then I will at a later date. But that's for now, that chapter is done, you know?
Well, you know, you're talking to someone who took like 2 years out and then decided they want to come back into it. I look at it very much again, going back to what you said when you were growing up and trying these career choices. You don't know where you're going to be in a few years. And there may be a question that gets asked of you. For me, it was like, can I be a good guy in wrestling? And I started to really think about it more and more. And I won't lie, I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you now. I missed it. I missed you. I missed like the fun we would have in there. You know, it's hard to believe for someone on the outside of it because it all looks quite physical and it does bloody hurt. Yeah. But like you have so much fun in there. It's incredible. It's impossible, almost impossible to explain.
That's the only thing I'm scared of missing. I'm not scared of like the fans. I'm not scared of people taking pictures. I'm scared of not having that fun with friends, you know, with brothers, with, you know, because we are a family, you know we're all like a delusional family. I'm scared that I'm going to miss everybody. I'm scared that I'm, you know, it's going to come to an EWW show day and I'm going to sit there and go, I miss them all. I wish I was there. I just want to be there having a laugh with them before the show, you know. I just want to be there like ribbing people before the show starts, you know. I'm not bothered about the show.
It's a funny feeling, and when it's gone, it gets even funnier. But yeah, having to sit in a crowd and just watching it all and not being part of it, that was very, very strange. But like I say, you take. When I left the first time, it's because I needed to, and I didn't really honestly miss it at all. But like you say, you never know what questions come in and where you'll be. But I think the thing you have to understand as well, and this has happened a lot more now. Back in the day with wrestling, once you left, you were person non grata. You were never spoken of or thought of again.
Yeah.
Now, I'd say the family is a lot better. And I think, again, because of social networking, everyone stays in contact a lot more. So I think that's opened you as well. It's not like as soon as you know, out of sight, out of mind. I do think people do stay. Well, the good ones do stay in contact.
Yeah, of course. So, but like you said, I think that's a lot down to the social media aspect as well. And again, it comes down to building a legacy. Yeah. Like the fact it comes down to the fans again with the amount of say that they've got. They're not going to let companies forget about the good ones. Yeah. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, Marc, what I've got from this conversation today, someone that was given the idea that they had to sort of understand what they were doing and fought against it, and then has questioned themselves and done what they wanted to and been curious about stuff and actually continue to do that and not allow themselves to be defined by anything. So it's like I say, going from usually what we do is have a quick chat and a mess about backstage to actually having a full conversation about like your motivations and what you continue to do. It's been wonderful to hear all these sides of you, mate. I really do appreciate you taking the time out as well.
No worries, mate. Anything for you. You're one of the good ones. So.
Oh, I really do appreciate that, mate. I really do. Now, before we go, though, is there anything you would like people to follow you on, or anything you'd like people to check out?
It's mainly Twitter. I'm at Referee Paz on Twitter. It's mainly Insane Ramblings, but that's just me. No, just the usual. Just follow Phil, put Phil over. You know, say your prayers, your vitamins. Just do you. Like I'm not going to lose sleep if like nobody follows me like on the social medias, because you know it doesn't make a difference to me. Just go and support local businesses.
That's a very noble thing to say, mate. Thinking about the bigger picture again. Awesome.
Yeah, so support local businesses and help the little man.
That sounds great, mate. Well, listen, I will talk to you again soon, and I'll definitely see you before you retire. Hopefully, there'll be shows opening up again soon and stuff as well. So. Take care, mate. All the best with that shopping with your zoo bag.
Cheers, mate.
Take care, mate. Bye. You have been listening to Slouching Towards Masculinity with me, Philip Bedwell. You can follow me on Instagram at Philip Bedwell. That's 1 L in the Philip and 2 in the Bedwell. Or you can also visit my website at www.philipbedwell.com. Thank you.